we're going to get into assemblies. We've got 3 different objects that we're going to assemble together or put together. So you go to New, and this is a little bit different. We got to click on the assembly file. I don't know if we've done that yet. We've done parts, we've done drawings, we haven't done assemblies. So double click on that. All the parts for this can be found on Canvas. So you go to Canvas, or you can go to the Common Q drive, and there's a whole bunch of parts you need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 parts. Okay, and this is just a PDF of the handout I gave you. Okay, there's also a video that walks you through how to do this, although the video is kind of old, so I'm going to update it. First thing when you do an assembly file, it says what part do you want to bring in first. Begin the assembly. And if you have parts open, they'll be listed here. I don't have anything open, so I have to browse for it. And this is where you got to make sure you know where you put your folder or where your parts are. So I have a folder here, Chopper Assembly Student Files. And then I'm going to change my icons to the large icons so I can see them better. And if you look at the parts list on the handout, and I'm going to download this and open this so I can use that as an example. Alright, the parts list here says Lab 9 fuselage. That's the first thing we want to bring in. So the first thing I bring in is the Lab 9 fuselage. And there's that little 0 at the end of all of them. Just ignore it. So you double click on it, and then you click on your screen where you want it to go. So just click to place it down. It does this cool little movement thing. And there we go. There's the first part. Okay, we're going to use this one, not the one that we made, because this one has like this tail on it and this little bar down here. Okay, so this one has a little more features. Plus we know this one's right. Yours might not be right. Notice the first part we bring in has an F. The F stands for fixed, meaning like I can't move this. It's locked in or fixed into place. If I right click and float that, now I can move that. But you don't want to do that. You always want to keep the first thing fixed. That's why you want to bring in the base first, and then we'll attach and build off the base. Next, up top, there's insert components. This is how you insert additional parts. So we click on insert components, we browse for the next part, then on our handout, the next part is the servo frame 3. So we look for servo frame 3, there it is, or 30, and just kind of place that right there next to it. Okay, next we're going to mate these 2 parts together. Okay, so up top, find the mate icon, right there it is, little paper clip, like we're putting things together. Mate. We're going to zoom in, we're going to click on the face of this little curvy part here, and see how it highlights it blue. And then we're going to spin around and click on the round part, the face of that. And when you do that, it tries to guess out of these 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mates, which one you want. And it's guessing that we want concentric, which is true, we do. But notice on our handout, which way is the little bumpy thing point? The other way, towards the tail, towards the back. So we need to flip this. To flip it, down here we have mate alignment, these 2 little options. If I click on this aligned, it flips it. Okay? So this is how you can flip things back and forth. Okay, so now our little bump is pointing towards the back. I'm going to hit the green check mark for OK. Notice you can only mate 2 surfaces one time. So we hit OK. Next, I want the edge of this or the face of that to line up with the edge or face of this. Okay, and then I hit the check mark, and now those sides line up with one another. The third axis I'm going to leave open. I'm going to hit the green check mark to finish my mate because I want this to be able to tilt back and forth. Okay, notice that it could actually go through your part because these aren't solid, they're just like virtual representations. Okay, so each part can be mated 3 times, X, Y, and Z. And if we click on the mates here, there's the 2 mates we just made. So if I ever needed to delete one, you can just right click and delete it. If I ever needed to fix it, I could go in and edit the feature, and it would take me back and I could edit it. Okay, make any changes I needed. Also, each part tells you which mates are in it. Okay, so right here are the 2 mates for that part. Okay, because if I had a huge complicated part, I could have like 50 mates here and it would be hard to tell. The nice thing is when you hover over it, it highlights what it is, which is a nice feature. Alright, so we bring in the next component, insert components, browse. What's the next part? It says CCW rotor, so that's counterclockwise rotor. So CCW rotor, it's the first one. We're going to place that near the top. Okay, I'm going to click on mate. I'm going to click on the shaft. And when you click in the hole, you want to not click on the edge, but click on the face. Okay, and it lines it up all nice and pretty. Hit the check mark. If you need to move this like up or down to get it, if it's inside of it, that's not really what you want, so you just click and drag it up. Okay, now I want the top of this to mate to the bottom of that. Okay, check mark it. And then whenever you're done with a part, check mark it a second time to finish the mate. That way if you hit Control Z or undo, it will only undo one part and not your entire drawing. I have mated all of this like in one mate command and then hit undo like at the very end, and it literally undoes every part, and then you get mad and want to punch the computer. Alright, so insert the next component, browse. Next one is the CW rotor. Again, put that near the top. Now here's a little trick. Watch, I can click on one of the surface and you get this quick little pop-up, and right there's mate. Okay, so this is a way to do it a little bit faster. And then click inside the shaft. Now this one did exactly what I didn't want it to do. It went down too far, so I'm just going to yank it up. Make sure you don't click on something. Sometimes when you go to yank something up, you might have something selected here. Just click on it, delete it out. Alright, so that top, rotate up to that bottom. Hit the check mark. Hit the check mark again to finish it. So now these rotors, since I only mated it twice, can spin independently of one another, which is kind of cool. Alright, next component, the tail. Insert component, browse, bring in the tail, stick it back towards the tail. Again, I'm going to click inside one of the holes, bring in my mate. Okay, obviously that hole is going to go to this edge, not the ring, the face. Okay, hit the check mark. I'm going to drag this out, put the bottom hole on the bottom railing. It lined it up. I don't know if you saw it, but it did line it up. Now here's where the tricky part is. You're going to click on this face, spin it around, and click on the flat end of the surface. But that's not a very strong mate, right? If I knocked that off, it would just break right off. So if you look on here, on the back page, detail B, the tail right here is going to sit onto this frame 1/4 of an inch, 0.25. So I type in over here, I find my distance, I turn on the distance, I type in 0.25 and hit the tab key to accept, and there it is. It's 0.25, but it's 0.25 away from it. I want it to be 0.25 on it, so there's a little box right here. It says flip dimension. You see, that's the key. People can't find that. Flip dimension box. Check that, and it will put it 0.25 on it. Hit the check mark twice to finish the tail. Okay? Next, bring in the insert component, browse. I think the next part is the Lab 10 servo. Place one down here. Now we actually need 3 of these, so if I hold the Alt key down, actually the Control key, hold the Control key down, you can tear off copies without having to bring those all in. Somehow I got an extra one, so if you have an extra one, delete it. Alright, we got 2 holes. We're going to line them up. Click inside a hole, mate, to the inside of the other hole, hit the check mark, inside of the opposite side, to the opposite side. You can see it turned a little bit, check mark, and then that surface, spin it around to that surface so it sits on top of it. Okay, that's the easy one. The back one's a little bit trickier. I'm going to spin it around to the back. Notice that these holes are actually in a different location. They're actually a little bit above it, above the other side, which is good. Alright, inside of the one to the inside of the other, check mark. Inside of the opposite side to the inside of the opposite side, check mark, and then face, spin it around to face. Check check mark it twice to finish it. Okay? The last one is kind of on the front here. It's a little tricky. Now if you notice on the handout, I'm going to go back to page 1, there's these little like feet things. This little foot thing's pointing up. This little like knob that sticks out is pointing up. So that means that this hole here, the one that has above the knob, needs to be mated with the top hole here, not the bottom one, but the top one. So you click on the top one, you hit the check mark, and notice how you just kind of assume that it's right. So that was that hole. I'm going to click on the opposite hole and click on the bottom one, and now you can see it's lining up. The little foot thing's pointing up, and then I'm going to do the surface of there, spin it around to the back surface of there, so that lines up all nice. That one's pretty tricky. It might take you a little bit to figure out that one. Hit the mate twice to finish the mate command, and then there's one last part, the link, that links these two together. So go to insert component, browse, grab the link, place it in there. Now another little trick, well, you can hold the control key and select two of the different parts together and then go to mate. That's a little trickier. Now you can see that it lined it up, but it put it like way over there. So I'm going to hit the check mark, and again I'm going to grab it and drag it out because I need this surface to be mated with the back side of that surface so it sits on top of it. Again, you got to get really good at navigating around a 3D space, and that's pretty tricky to do. And then the top hole is going to be mated to that hole, which kind of brings it all together. Hit the check mark twice. Go to the isometric view, Control 7, and there we go. There's our part. Okay?